Hi, how are you? This is Rama Dedan back with another video. Today, I'm going to talk about something, a very important topic in society that is misunderstood or is, let me say, this term is used misappropriately or isn't used in the correct settings. I have seen this and I just wanted to make a distinction between what I think this term or how these concepts should be used. And basically, it's a concept of emotional maturity. And emotional maturity is basically generalized as how we perceive and manage our own emotions. But if I were to tell you the truth, there's actually three types of there's three that's the general way we can describe it. But if we're to break things down, there's actually three processes or three functions of emotions that we go by in our functioning as human beings. And we have emotional intelligence, emotional regulation, and emotional maturity, which I'm going to explain to you how they differ from each other. And we basically think as emotional intelligence as all of these things combined. But if I were to tell you that this term has actually been misused, you actually get to know that there is more to it than it looks like. You see, emotional intelligence isn't just a broad term to look at how we manage our emotions or go about in our daily lives, you know, functioning with our emotions in aspect to the world around us. Emotional intelligence, I have it in my notes, and I came up with this concept by myself. Different people, as time has gone by, different people have been going on along to talk about how, emotional intelligence, the definition for emotional intelligence as time proceeds from when it was first conceived has been changing over time. And I have my own, thoughts to add to that, to how it can be changed furthermore, to fit something that truly works or how it should be truly looked at as, and emotional intelligence, as I wrote it, is the ability to understand our emotions as well as those of others around us. It is the theoretical framework of how to go about thoughts and feelings and understanding of how to use them to navigate in our daily lives. It is the knowing of what should be and the mechanism of how to make correct and proper decisions. Think of it as the sheet, showing the correct answers to a test. That's how you can think of emotional intelligence. It's the theoretical framework, the understanding of how things should be, the knowledge of what to do in situations and how to act in situations. But that doesn't mean because you have emotional intelligence that in a situation that you're gonna be or do things in a certain way. You may know what to do, but some people aren't able to manage themselves accordingly. And that's why I wanted to make a distinction between emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, and emotional regulation. You see, emotional intelligence precedes the two. Emotional intelligence is the theoretical framework of how things should be. So it's in your mind how you know about how you go about in life managing your emotions and things like that, how it should be done correctly. That is what emotional intelligence is. And when you have emotional intelligence, the next thing that should precede that, all of these things are independent. All of these terms are all independent, even though they work together. They function. They follow each other sequentially. They're all independent. One can have one, and one can be good at one and not be good at the other two, or can be good at two and not be good at one, or can be good at all of them. And that's emotional intelligence. But what precedes emotional intelligence is emotional regulation. And emotional regulation is the ability to process our emotions and is the precedent to emotional maturity. It's basically how we process our emotions. It's basically like, living in a world where we have logical and emotional stimuli around us. Emotional regulation is how we process these emotions, how we process the things happening to us, and how we feel about the things happening to us. Because when you're a kid, you process things differently to how you are when you're an adult. Because when you're a kid, the slightest of things makes you cry, the slightest of things make you happy, But when you're an adult, the same things that make you happy aren't the same things that make you happy when you're a kid. And that is basically what emotional regulation is. Emotional regulation is the processing of how it goes about how we process these emotions. it's actually two in one. It's actually called emotional processing and regulation. It's a two in one. You can see about it as two things, because regulation is comes about from the processing that we have from the emotions around us. So emotional processing and regulation is the second aspect of emotional quotient. You know, the overall term is emotional quotient, but people misquote it and misuse it and call it emotional intelligence, but it is emotional quotient. Emotional intelligence is an aspect of emotional quotient, and that's how I believe it should be correctly termed. And basically, the last concept that I have today about emotions is emotional maturity, which emotional maturity, as I have it in my notes, if I may look at it, is the driving force to emotional intelligence and thus drives how we make decisions in reference to the logical and emotional world around us. So after having emotional intelligence and processing and regulation, right, we go about emotional maturity, which goes about how we govern our actions in the world, into the world. And that's basically what emotional maturity is, how we respond to the different emotional and logical stimuli around us. And it's important to know the distinction between all three, such that you may know how to go about your life, making the proper decisions, or knowing how to respond or feel about certain things, and knowing how certain things should be in life. It's knowing how certain things should be in life. That's emotional intelligence, processing and regulating yourself. Just, understanding how to feel about certain things, which is emotional processing and regulation. And finally, emotional maturity, which is how to dispense certain actions into the world in reference to, things around us, the logical and emotional world around us. And that's basically what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Just knowing this in your mind will make a great difference in how you do things, because consciousness is the first step to being awakened. And being a conscious individual makes you powerful. You first go through self-consciousness, you first go through self awareness, then you become conscious, and then you become awakened. That's how it goes by. So that's basically what I had to talk to you about today. And this is Ramadan with another video for you guys.